Hey, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores coming to y'all with a how to beat the Denver Broncos preview video versus the Washington football team. Man, y'all already know how we do every week. Every Thursday, I give y'all the exact breakdown on how we can beat our next opponent. First of all, I give y'all the injury report between both teams, who may or may not play. And then, of course, I will update y'all with the final injury report tomorrow, as in Friday, like I do every week as well for that, on who will or will not play. Also, I give y'all the power rankings for both teams, what each of us were last week and what we are going into this week. Also, the history between the two matchups, like for example, between us and the Denver Broncos, who has won the most games since we've been playing each other in NFL history. And then, of course, when we get to the main part of the video, I give y'all 5 matchups, 3 X factors, and 1 score prediction. Y'all already know, again, this is every week, so y'all know how this is structured. But before we dive into that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Also, you make sure you check out the rest of the channel. All of my videos are organized in playlists. I even have a comedy playlist for all of my funny videos, and be on the lookout for some draft content coming up. And it's not even just based on our record. Y'all already know I'm a big football enthusiast. I watch high school. I care about recruiting. I'm a big Georgia Bulldog fan, but I watch all college games and things like that. So, I mean, even if we were undefeated at this point, I would already be getting that itch to start coming with some draft content. So be on the lookout for some of my prospect rankings. I mean, mainly specifically for us, our QB rankings and things like that. I have a whole lot of draft content video ideas that I'm working on right now as well. And like I keep saying, all of these videos are weekly. The injury report on Wednesday, the preview on Thursday, the final injury report on Friday, and then the full-blown live stream during the game on Sundays when we play. And then after that, a post-game live stream for y'all to call in and give y'all opinions on how y'all felt about the game. And I also upload my game review as we're doing the post-game live stream. Every week, the same content. And without further ado, let's get it. All right, so first of all, this is the 27th ranked Washington football team versus the 18th ranked Broncos. And we both had those exact rankings last week, according to Bleacher Report. And then it kind of gets like that. As we get further into the season, you start to get a better feel of how good a team is or isn't. And then like towards that bottom half of the league, things rarely change unless there's like an upset. But usually we go into weeks and we lose the game they expected us to lose. We win the game they expected us to win. So I'm not surprised that we were ranked 27th last week and are 27th going into this week. And same thing with the Broncos being 18th and continuing to be 18th going into this week as well. And then the injury report. On our side, as far as the people who did not participate, you have wide receiver De'Ami Brown, offensive tackle Samuel Cosmi, and wide receiver Curtis Samuel. But then you have limited running back Antonio Gibson, cornerback William Jackson, Brandon Sheriff, which is really interesting because I didn't think he would come back until after the bye week, which is after this game. We play the Broncos this bye week, then the Buccaneers. And he's limited in practice. I still don't think he'll play against the Broncos because it's like no reason to really force him back for this game, just to risk him getting even more hurt. So we may just wait until the Buccaneers game to bring him back, if then. So we'll see. Also, Wes Schweitzer, Brandon Sheriff's backup, was limited with a neck injury, which really concerns me. And then Cam Sims, the wide receiver, was also limited. And then full participants were Danny Johnson, Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin's good. It just seems like every week they give him Wednesday off. So he's on the injury report because of that, but he's good to go. Participated in practice fully today, as in Thursday. Tight end Ricky Seals-Jones, thank goodness, and Jay Sternberger, like our 4th string tight end behind Ricky Seals-Jones, Sammis Reyes, John Bates, the one that we signed here like a few weeks ago after Logan Thomas got hurt. And then on the Broncos side, it looks like they may be without Von Miller and Mike Purcell, but everybody else looks like they're more than likely gonna play. Other than those two, they probably will play. Some of them may be banged up, but again, it looks like they're pretty much a full go other than Von Miller and Mike Purcell. But we'll see. Again, the final injury report comes out tomorrow, Friday, and I will give y'all the update on that. And then our historical matchup, the series is actually tied. It's 7-7. The first time we ever played each other was 1970. We won that game, and it's just been pretty much back and forth since then. Neither of us have won more than 2 games in a row against each other. And the last time we played was in 2017. We beat them 27-11, but our teams are completely different since then. So we'll see. This is going to be the tiebreaker. And now it's time for the 5 matchups. Number 1, our secondary needs to be ready to face against this Broncos very underrated receiving core when healthy, though. We need to emphasize when healthy. Courtland Sutton tends to be hurt, but even though this year he's been pretty good as far as health goes. And then Jerry Jeudy is just now coming back from IR. I don't think he's played since like week 1. So their receiving core is pretty much fully loaded. Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, when healthy, have the makings of an elite receiving duo. And then don't forget Tim Patrick either. Don't focus on Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton so much that Tim Patrick is just out here running wild. And of course, Noah Fant, their tight end, is also a deadly receiving option as well. And you've seen how we struggled with tight ends. Even though last week, Robert Tonyan definitely pushed off of Jamin Davis for that touchdown. It wasn't called. But still, overall, even though Jamin Davis is getting better, he's starting to flash more consistently, we still struggle with covering tight ends. Not as much since John Bostic hasn't been on the field, but still. So this is honestly the matchup that concerns me the most. I felt like going into this season, our secondary would be way better than what it is now. But based off of the product that we've seen on the field so far this season, really other than just last week where they weren't great, they just weren't as bad as they were the rest of the season, this is definitely the matchup that scares me the most. Their receivers versus our secondary. Because William Jackson, he's probably going to be back this week, but he missed last week, so that means he's still going to be banged up. And even then, with him there, he's been getting beat quite a bit, so we got to see. Now, number 2, probably our most favorable matchup. We're going from our scariest matchup, the one that I'm worried about the most, to the one that I'm worried about the least, and that's our defensive line versus their offensive line. And the Broncos O-line isn't bad at all. Do not get me wrong there. The Broncos definitely have like a mid-tier offensive line, especially if everybody's healthy. But again, our defensive line, we've been saying this all season. We've been saying this all off season. All of these first round picks and all of the talent on this D-line, there's no reason they're not producing more than they are right now. Now, one of the biggest reasons, honestly, is because the secondary can't cover anybody and teams are killing us with the quick passing game and the screen game. So that's just taking our defensive line out of the equation. It doesn't matter how legendary you are. If you're a Hall of Famer on the defensive line, it takes a certain amount of time to get to a quarterback. Now, there's a lot of things they can fix, like Chase Young and Montez Sweat getting too deep. And even though our interior defensive line is getting pushed up the middle, Chase Young and Montez Sweat are flying past the quarterback, so the quarterback has an easy route to just run for a first down or move out of the pocket and deliver an easy throw once they just run in between the big gap between Chase Young and the nearest defensive tackle. But still, like with our secondary not being able to cover, it's hard for our defensive line to get home because they don't have enough time to. There's a human being in front of them. Even if the human being wasn't as talented as they are, just anybody in the way. Without them just getting a full-blown, unblocked path to the quarterback, our secondary needs to be able to cover for at least like 2.5 seconds. But either way, regardless of what the secondary got going on, again, even though they did look a little bit less bad, it's hard to say better, but they definitely looked less bad last week against the Packers, which is surprising. Out of everybody we played, that was the least bad our secondaries looked all season. But the defensive line has to just be better, plain and simple. I mean, we're somewhere near the top of the league in pressures, but we got to get there. We got to get QB hits. We got to get sacks. We got to force turnovers with the defensive line because our secondary isn't doing it by themselves at all right now. And again, that's probably our most favorable matchup going into this game. And if we can't win that matchup, all hope is lost, basically. Then number 3, speaking of O-lines, with Samuel Cosmi and Brandon Sheriff assumed to be out, this game may get tricky. Wes Schweitzer and Cornelius Lucas are pretty much as good as backups get, but this Broncos D-line isn't to be played with at all. Plus, with Wes Schweitzer a little hurt with a neck injury, and if he can't play anytime in this game for any reason, like even if he starts but ends up getting hurt, re-aggravating the injury, making it worse or whatever during the game, really hope he doesn't. But if he does, it could get really ugly. Because then who's the backup to Wes Schweitzer? Sadiq Charles? I love his talent, but is he even ready? Last time we saw him in the preseason, he didn't look great. He didn't necessarily look terrible, but it didn't make me optimistic about him potentially playing in a real regular season NFL game this soon. But we'll see though. I mean, again, Wes Schweitzer, Cornelius Lucas are as good as backups get for the offensive line, but what if Wes Schweitzer gets hurt? Then what? And then the 4th matchup, with Heineke struggles, we need everything around him to be on point. Even on top of the O-line that protects him, Scott Turner has to win his matchup against Vic Fangio. video. Our O-line and running back group has to win the matchup against the Broncos front seven. They all need to win their matchups to make Heinicke's job way easier. Receivers need to get open against this very talented and very deep Denver secondary. I mean, they're at the point where they're considering trading away Kyle Fuller. They just have so many corners. It's like they might as well improve on another position instead of just having an embarrassment of riches in that singular position. So this Denver secondary is crazy. And with Heinicke not being accurate, our receivers need to be open. And Scott Turner, along with play calling, make sure he designed an offense around Heinicke using his legs. He is definitely at his best when he's using his legs. He ran for 95 yards last week. First of all, give him the freedom to use his legs when he wants to, like when things break down, even if it's a passing play, let him pick up those yards like he did against the Packers with his legs. Also, move the pocket for him. Can we please call more play action bootlegs, roll them out of the pocket? We need to do that more with Taylor Heinicke. Stop forcing him to be a pocket quarterback. It's not working. And then even call up some design runs for him. That first possession against the Packers, we ran a design run for Taylor Heinicke and it worked very well. And even if you're not going to have a play design where it's literally just a straight up QB run, can we at least run some read option, just a little bit something to at least get the linebackers to freeze up a little bit? Stop suppressing Heinicke's strengths because you're worried about him getting hurt. Don't throw him into danger unnecessarily, of course, but don't hide him and tell him not to do what he does best either. Please, Scott Turner. And then the fifth and final matchup, our rookies have to step up in their important roles. They have to win their matchups. Just like last week, we need them. Jamin Davis is starting to flash more often, and it's reported that he will gain a larger role in the defense moving forward, and we need him to step up big. Benjamin St. Juste needs to continue making plays and improving. With Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown, and Cam Sims probably out this week again. Dax Milne, we need you to continue to flash out there. There were some routes you were open and Taylor Heinicke didn't see you, didn't get you the ball. That's okay. Keep getting open. Keep making yourself available for him. We need you to win your matchups against the secondary. It's going to be a difficult task, but man, Heinicke needs it. This whole team needs these rookies to step up. And then the 3 X factors, starting with the first one, third down defense every week. Last week was still bad, but it wasn't as bad. You know what I'm saying? It was an improvement, but it wasn't necessarily great. The Washington football team allowed the Packers to convert 6 of 12, 50% of their third downs. Again, that's not as bad as we've been, but that's also not good when considering league standards and what other defenses are doing in the NFL. Again, every week, third down defense. I need to see them work on it and fix it consecutive weeks before I take it off of this X factor. Number 2, red zone efficiency. That is a huge problem. That's my biggest pet peeve with Scott Turner's play calling. When he gets in the red zone, he gets too creative or he gets too easy to read. There's no just perfect middle. He just does too much in the red zone and we end up just going more east and west than north and south a lot of the time, and it's just not working. And the fact that last week we had no punts but only had 10 points, 6 trips within the Packers 30-yard line, but only 10 points. That's unacceptable. And a lot of the blame is on Taylor Heinicke as far as a lot of that red zone production goes. And I mean, we can point to several plays. Terry McLaurin also dropped one of the touchdowns as well. But overall, Scott Turner, your red zone play calling has to be way better than what it's been. And then the third and final X factor, Chris blew it. Yes, sir, man. Last week, he had that one kick that was blocked because it was kicked too low. But you got to remember, last week was technically his first kick in his NFL career and his first kick in any non-preseason game or a practice since 2016 when he was in college. But then the extra point he kicked went right down the middle, looked like it should have gone in. And then his 40-plus yarder that he kicked also went right down the middle, and it looked like it was good as soon as it left his foot, which helped me exhale big time. Definitely helped me exhale a little. He's very talented but inexperienced, and he's probably going to be an X factor in these videos for the rest of this season, because we really have to watch each and every one of his kicks under a microscope to see if we potentially have our franchise kicker. Not having a franchise kicker is huge for a team, and we potentially have one because, again, the talent and potential is there, but he's inexperienced. So can he get it together quickly? Can he stay consistent? That's why he's going to be an important X factor, especially since our red zone offense has been so poor and inefficient. So we're going to need him to bail us out. And then, like, all of our games have been relatively close heading into halftime, and then we just get left behind third and fourth quarter. But out of the way, a lot of our games are close pretty well into the game, and so we're going to need him to make every kick. We can't afford to lose any points against all of these teams. I mean, because our schedule is still pretty tough. The toughest part of our schedules are definitely in the rearview mirror, but the rest of our schedule is still tough. It's not easy. And again, we're going to need every point we can get, and Chris Blewett is going to have to bail us out quite a bit, I can already tell. Which leads me to my score prediction. I see us winning 17-16, which means we're going to need Chris Blewett to make at least one kick and 2 extra points. Honestly, with our red zone efficiency, I think we may end up kicking more than that. We may end up with a weird score like 20 or 23. But right now, my score prediction is 17-16 because neither of us have really high-powered offenses right now. I mean, we can move the ball at will. The Denver Broncos have a really underrated receiving core, and Melvin Gordon is no slouch as well. And then even on our side, J.D. McKissic makes plays, and Antonio Gibson, as long as he's not fumbling, is making plays. But I think at the end of the day, this is just a matchup between one really productive defense in the Broncos, who's supposed to be good and is playing like it, and our very talented defense that isn't playing as well as they should be. But I think with us finally not going against an elite quarterback, our defense may finally bounce back. Our secondary may finally look decent. So I think this is going to be a fairly low scoring game. I think it's going to be quite a bit of field goals kicked. I would not be surprised if it ends up being like 23-20 or something like that. But I'm sticking to my 17-16. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. What is your prediction? What are your matchups? What are your X factors that you're looking at? And of course, definitely give me your score prediction and who wins. Also, please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. And as always, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to everybody that donates to the channel, man. Really appreciate y'all. A big shouts out to all of my sponsors, man. I really appreciate y'all as well, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors, whose names you see scrolling on the screen right now. Man, I appreciate y'all. Again, I'm gonna catch y'all tomorrow with the final injury report on who will or will not play and who will be questionable. So stay tuned for that. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.